How the heck are you guys? My name is Fastidious, welcome to my channel, and welcome to a guide on the Artifact Material Raid. So, this is where we have to face the big bad Salazar. Quite a unique and particularly annoying battle, at least for me. As you can see, we are on stage 16, so this will be specifically a guide on stage 16 of the Artifact Material Raid. However, this really is a guide all the way to 18. The only things that change are how good are your DPS characters, how good is your gear, can your stat scale as this nasty man's stat scale. So for me, the highest I can get is 16, but I thought this was a good moment to actually make the guide, because if you see 16 is the first stage you can get at the maximum 10 drops of these fantastic flawless meteorites, the mythic colored ones, the red ones. So I would say if you're stuck at 15, you can farm a little. Like for example, this is a nice time right now because we have the Mystery of Artifacts, the Artifact Material Raid Oracle's Trial is available. But in general, in terms of farming, I certainly wouldn't start before 16. And quite frankly, without an Oracle's Trial or some reason to do it, like a fusion, I would really wait till 18. Because that's when you get only specifically these flawless meteorite. You can still get, even at 17, the radiant meteorite. So what's the downside there? We can quickly go to the forge, and then we'll get right into this guide, guys. If you go into the forge, you'll see the chances of getting mythic artifacts, which is kind of what this whole game here in the Artifact Material Raid is all about. It's vastly slimmer with your legendary artifacts. That's not to say you can't get them. I've actually gotten quite a few that way from the beginning when I started playing, and I was just so keen on getting some mythic artifacts. But you can see with legendary forge, so using these radiant meteorites, the legendary ones, you have a 40% chance at legendary, 5% mythic, and then still a 55% chance epic. That's not great. Only a 5% chance mythic. 11 times more likely to get an epic. Then at Mythic, the rates are just way higher, right? We're talking 50-50, you're gonna get at least Legendary, only a 30% chance to get Epic. Now it's 4 times more likely to get Mythic. So these rates aren't crazy, but 1 in 5 is a heck of a lot better than 1 in 20, right? So I suggest you really only go hard at it once you're at 18, so even I won't be doing that. But I do have, like I said, we have Lunaria Fusion up now, and we do have Mystery of Artifacts. So this is the time that a lot of us might be farming it. So let's get right into it. So we are going to tackle this with 2 strategies, and I would call them 2 unique strategies, but they do quite have a lot in common, but they are at least 2 distinct strategies. So to explain them, let's go into the heroes here and talk it through. Actually, probably better to view the heroes if I show you what the run looks like in our roster setup, right? So first, the first guide for the first strategy, this is a very straightforward strategy, far less of a song and dance and this choreographed sequencing like what you're gonna see in stage 16. Stage 15 is just bring your melee DPS and then move some things around. Of course, it's a little bit more than that, and that's why I'm making a guide. But let's take our guy Cutter out. That's a little teaser for what's to come later on, and we will replace him. Could really be with anyone. I will just bring Nocturne just to make the fight go faster. You know what? No, let's not bring a... I don't want to bring a legendary champion. We'll bring a Mani. Let me just quickly make sure she's wearing gear. Indeed she is. Okay, so, and you don't even need this champion per se. You can bring anyone. If you have another ground unit, like if your Volka's built, or your Abomination's built, or you just have another fighter, an epic fighter, Voroth would be great. We just don't have that, so you got to work with what you have, but you do need some quantity of fighters and then some tanks and then some other things I'll talk about briefly. So the way I like to tackle this one, like I said, this is stage 15. We're well equipped for this fight. So I'll quickly go show you here. Power of Dominance is in fact off. So this will be a raw look at how we can do. But I have good stats. Like I said, when you reach these higher levels, it kind of becomes, as long as you have good strategy, it becomes a DPS check. So you want to make sure you can use a guide like this to employ the best sequencing, the best strategy possible. But from that point forward, you know, if you hit a wall, it might just be you need a little more damage on your best DPS, or a little more on the second one, or maybe slightly better heals, or a little more rage regen somewhere, attack speed somewhere. It will all come together, right? So what am I doing here? Well, we need DPS, we need floor units, so we are bringing, let's count them, technically 6 fighters into, 5 fighters. Oh, it's 6 if you count Decimus. Technically 6 fighters into the fight. However, we are bringing 3 fighters that are DPS units. So that is going to be Wrath, Arrogance, and Deimos. If you don't have an Arrogance, trust me, it's not the end of the world. Abomination would be fine, Volk would be fine, or, you know, if you have a Valkyra, or Salazar, of course, any other good fighting units, and even some epics absolutely could work as long as they're built well. I would prefer not to bring Arrogance just so I could say there's no legendaries, but you can see I don't have any other fighters built up currently. It is a free-to-play account, guys. I gotta make do. But yeah, if you have other options, absolutely you can do it. So I like building around a Nightmare comp, which I highly suggest. You got to put out DPS, and it's really easy when you get 4 of these units out there. So you have 3 fighters I spoke to, and then Baron as our main tank for this stage. Then you get that big bonus from Wrath, which you certainly will be taking advantage of, and you'll get the same thing obviously from Torador as well. but you get when 4 allies are deployed. So for 1, it's 5%, 2 is 10%, 3 is 20%. But when you have 4 allies or more deployed, you get a 35% increase in attack speed. And that is extremely significant. And it will really help you get DPS, because this is, like I said, again, kind of a DPS check stage. All right, I want to get into the battles, so let's just keep going through it really quickly. Arrogance is really good because he's a ranged DPS ground unit. So I'll just very, very, very quickly show you guys here. So it's really nice because it lets us cover multiple tiles. He has the same ranges like Zila 2, but other more straight up and down ranges, like if you have Valkyra, she gets 3 tiles, 4 tiles at Awaken 1, or even Scorch. He would be very good for this fight because he has some AoE to help with kill the mobs, so not just putting damage onto Salazar. So I can just show you him here. He only has 2 tiles of range, but that's better than 1. Or if you have like a well-built Ein, that could work too. You see we have Ein down here, so I guess we can use this moment to transition into our non-DPS fighters. I guess I can quickly say Deimos is awesome for this fight. If you have Deimos, awesome. If you don't worry, just find some other DPS fighter and get him strong enough until he works. But for us, we're rocking with Deimos. We're lucky enough to have him. So then, like I said, we have 3 other fighters, so we can start with Ein, that are not DPS fighters. So my Ein, or Ein, I'm still unsure how to pronounce that to this day. He is here just as a meat shield. So as you can see, he's in like an HP build. Nothing crazy, he's only 5 stars. That's really his purpose. And then he also, because I do have him Awaken 1, just for full disclosure, why not bring him there just for a little extra DPS? He is going to inflict vulnerability physical damage on the target. There's a little typo here, but with his attack for 5 seconds. So as long as he's getting attacks out, you should have pretty close to full uptime. He won't be in the battle that long, as you'll see, but we will be able to take down Salazar a little bit easier. And I can confirm, this is a video for another day, but P damage here does mean physical damage. It was very unclear to me whether it was piercing or physical, but I did some testing. That will be in another video. It is physical damage. So piercing or normal damage will be fine, and all of our units here have that, that are applying DPS. Except for Amani, I guess, at the end. So the other 2 fighters, Narvi, straight up cost generation. I highly suggest you put her in a rapidity set. Just get her down to 9 costs. It's super, super, super easy to use her. No reason not to do it that way. She lets us, you gotta get units out, especially if you don't have amazing DPS like I don't, or at least amazing gear on your DPS. The faster you get your units out, the faster Salazar is taking damage, and the quicker you can get through this fight. And then finally, Decimus, he is here just as our little meat shield. So at the end, I'll explain it when it happens, but we get these globby guys coming down, and he can be dropped before they're able to join forces and become a much more powerful globby guy, if you will. Those little creeper men. I think that nearly covers the entire squad already. You will need 2 tanks, like I said. So for this fight, it will change actually for 16 because I want to demonstrate multiple things. We will use Baron. He's an excellent tank. You definitely need a 6-star tank for this, unless you have tremendous gear. But again, if you have tremendous gear, you probably don't need my help. So I suggest you make a 6-star tank. Livian would be fantastic on this stage. I've seen this done by Livian by members in my community chat. No, on my Discord, there's no reason to think she wouldn't work. Baron is super good though, and I have him, and he is Nightmare faction, so he works perfectly. I think he's really, really good for this fight, at least in these stages up to 16. Then you'll see we'll use Olog. Olog also quite a nice guy for this fight. We'll talk about him more when we do our stage 16 for a second strategy. But yeah, just tanky, any 6 stars. So yeah, you want to bring a 6-star champion for sure for your tank. And then you'll see I'm bringing 1 healer. For this strategy, it's kind of essential unless you have a tremendously strong tank. You'll see how he's just going to be our healer, and Vortex is very nice because he puts out shields, but Lightlock would work. You can happily use attack-based healers. It doesn't just have to be like an HP-based healer like Vortex or Midon or something, because they're not going to take any damage. It's only ground units going on. They'll be on their platform. And then finally, we have Amani. So we really don't need her. I just want to take her. I mean, if you're struggling to take the boss down at the end, you definitely do need her. We actually don't, but we will use her just to burst the boss down quickly. And Amani, I will shout out, is tremendously good for this fight because when you've skilled up her ultimate, it is down to an 1100 cost, and she has an initial skill cost of 1000. So she basically almost instantaneously gets her ultimate up, and her ultimate's where her big burst damage comes from. She also benefits from this passive when you first deploy her each time, not just the first time, but every time you redeploy her or initially deploy her. So she's great to just throw down at the end of the battle and burst some damage out and really take that Salazar down. So without further ado, let's take a quick peek at the map. I'll quickly go over the bosses, the monsters we are going to face, but you can always just skip ahead. We'll have chapters in this video, and then we'll get into the fighting, and that'll be it. So stage 15, we can go to map info. You can see here's Salazar. He's kind of maxed out. You can see not fully defense, not fully magic resistance. but he kind of is. He hits pretty hard already at this stage, tons of HP. He's really a nasty guy to take down. He's got this big move here, Slashing Blitz. When this comes, that's when he'll like wipe out some of our enemies on the side if we tuck away like a weak enemy like Narvi. So I'll show you at the beginning of the fight. We'll be sure to hide them away. Then here are the globby guys I was talking about, the creepers. So these are the ooze. They can join up together. Yes, so here, when the oozes merge, they get the giant ooze, and this guy's scary. So this guy has a ton of attack. He can really pack a punch. So you kind of want to stall them or keep them from merging for as long as possible. I don't have the perfect heroes to do this. I don't have tons and tons of fighters, so I'm going to show you my kind of quick and easy way to do it. And these parasitic beholders are just the normal, they're just kind of your normal ads, not particularly high stats, but you are going to have to take care of them, and they're extra people you have to block for when these scarier oozes and of course giant oozes come down. So, without further ado, let's get into this fight. I will double check. Yes, Power of Dominance is off. Let's hop on in. So I will say the start of the fight, I will start on 1x because it wants to be very coordinated. So this is what I like to do. Throw it on 1x. Immediately I want to get Narvi down, and I'm going to hide her up here in the corner because these guys take a while to come down, and I want her to be able to get at least 2 rounds of her ultimate off, so we have enough cost to make it through the fight. Next, I'm going to take my best DPS for this. It could be Arrogance or Deimos, but Deimos needs more time to charge up his ultimate, so I'm going to drop him right here. And now already I'm going to get ready with the main tank I'll use for the stage, which is Baron. And I'm actually going to do a little trick. Maybe you guys figure it out yourself. It's quite fun when you figure it out, but you can put him here, wait till this guy takes his step. Okay, so now he's in the box, and now when he starts to pick up his other foot, now you can release, and now he'll be able to be attacked. It is possible that you can attack him from these squares up here, so right above him, but then also these ones in line with Baron. So that's super helpful, as you see, because we're going to need Wrath to go here and also put out some damage. So Baron is good. He'll take a couple hits. We're going to keep an eye on Narvi. We're going to have to trigger in 1 second. We do. Now we're going to drop our next best DPS, or our other good DPS, so Arrogance. And now I'm immediately going to get a healer down. So if you have an amazing tank or amazing DPS, you will not need a healer here. But for me, this is how I do it. It makes it a lot easier, and I think it's a much more accessible strategy to a lot of people. And from this point on, we can really just focus on managing a few things and keeping an eye on our DPS. So we can trigger a shield with Baron. I can 2x this now. These guys are going to start coming, but just in time, we can put Wrath here. And you can see I'm going to face him inward, so we fight Salazar. And because we did that little trick, as you can see, Deimos and Wrath are able to be hitting Salazar because he's kind of in between the 2 squares. And if you also notice, Wrath was our 4th deployed Nightmare unit. So officially starting now, we have the max 35% attack speed bonus, and we're kind of cruising. So what I like to do is just manage this, keep an eye on everything. We can drop our second tank here, and it doesn't have to be someone overpowered like Olag. It could even be like a 5-star Livian would be fine. As long as they're built well. For me, it's just easy because I have Olag right here. Immediately trigger Deimos, and we'll start to see some big damage. And now we're far enough in, guys, we can pick up our healer. This goes pretty fast, guys, when you have the good stats for it. Pick up our healer, drop Ramani. You'll see, oh shoot, drop Ramani. You'll see her ultimate's going to get loaded up, and now we'll leave Narvi there to tank some stuff. We can just click everything, get ready for Ramani, and we should just nuke this guy down. So that will be strategy number 1. So to recap, basically you are trapping the guy in between those 2 squares so you can get all your floor unit DPS hitting Salazar as quickly as possible, putting out DPS as fast as possible. You get Narvi out right at the beginning because you want to regenerate costs, so you can again be getting that DPS out as quickly as possible. And then you get a healer out to keep your tank up. And then when he gets about 50 or 40% left, you can kind of see how the bar's going. You can know if you're confident. Then if you want to speed the run up a bit, you can throw out some burst DPS. So like some nice single target like Imani, or like Azoth would also be really good, or even Navras. It's a bit of AoE, but he could still be really, really good for that role. Or don't use anyone if you don't need it, just to speed it up. Let's show stats really quickly. So you can see Arrogance and Deimos do a lot of the heavy lifting. Deimos actually I don't think he finished the full cycle of his ultimate because we did finish the fight pretty fast. Otherwise, it probably would have been a bit even, maybe even Deimos in the lead. You can see no one else did that much damage. Imani, we just got her off for a second, but if the fight had gone on a little longer, it probably would have been closer to like Wrath up here. And that's basically it. So who can you substitute? Any decent fighters, but I do suggest a Nightmare comp. We all get Wrath. So that's 1, and then you can get Abomination and Volca. If you're up to this stage, you probably already have Volca, so that's 3. So then hopefully you have a Baron, maybe a Deimos or an Arrogance, or crazy you have a Salazar. I mean, there's a lot of even Gluttony could work just to drop him to get the bonus. You could build him in a tanky build, and he could have taken the spot that actually Ein never even had to place. So you see, I did talk about Ein. I did talk about of course Decimus. They weren't needed for this fight, but they will be needed for the next one. So for strategy 2, things are going to change a little bit. So brace yourselves. We are going to take out our Amani, and we're not replacing her with our big and powerful Nocturne, who's even better. We're actually going to replace her with not a rare unit, a green unit. I think technically these are called advanced. I had to look it up because I never knew what to call these units because they're just fodder, right? But not in this case. So let's take out Amani. It's about to get good, folks. Scroll all the way down to this fella over here. His name is Cutter. Very cool champion. I'll just quickly show you his skills. Actually, I think the best way to present him, because some of you might already be wondering, like, why is he taking Cutter? Oh, maybe he does poisons, then why doesn't he take Cuke? And you're right, he does do poisons. We are going to go for a damage over time comp here, and we're going to have this nice synergy between Cutter and between Olag, and then cycling through our other heroes and really getting it focused down to like the milliseconds to make it work. But I want to show you quickly all those marksman heroes. So Cuke versus Cutter, and there's also one other option you could bring. I believe his name is Screef. If we go to Marksman, so you can see here's Cutter, and then I believe this is Screef. So let's start with Screef. You can see exactly the same hero, same reskin, all that cool stuff, right? Let's look at their kits really quickly. So Screef, you can skip the beginning, basically a single target, 30% chance to inflict poison for 4 seconds. These are advanced heroes, they're green heroes, so you cannot upgrade their skills, you cannot awaken them, nothing that interesting. The ultimate, throws a dagger, blah, 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 120% damage, doesn't matter, 300 cost, inflicts a poison, so 100% chance to get that poison. Let's look at Cutter. Believe it or not, a reskin and also the same exact kit. The only thing difference with Cutter is he has this line here. The attack prioritizes airborne units with 20% damage bonus. There are no aerial units in this stage, so it doesn't matter. I guess if you want to use him in other content, like maybe like the Piercer's faction, the faction trial when that comes, that's something to consider. Or any stage where you might want him to focus on a ground boss, but there are aerial units, he will focus the aerial units. But aside from that, he's exactly the same in terms of his kit as his brother in crime, Screef. The reason we've chosen Cutter is because he's a Piercer. So we get the little tiny Piercer bonus we get not from deploying someone like Lunaria or something, but because if we go to Star Piercers, we have collected 11. If you get 12, that's even better, because then you'll get the Rage Regen, which will be really good for him in this fight, which I don't have. But you know, a touch more HP, a touch more attack, that never hurt anyone. But now the big question, why are we going for Cutter, or even talking about this random guy Screef, as opposed to Cuke, like everyone's favorite damage over time, free-to-play unit, right? Well, let's compare them. Believe it or not, it's the same exact kit, basically, save for like 2 things, right? So, the A1, exactly the same. 30% chance to get poison, lasts for 4 seconds, exactly the same. The A2, the ultimate, this is where maybe Cuke is better, right? Actually, certainly he is. You get more damage because he is a rare champion, you can skill him up, but you can get the skill cost minus 100, so only a 200 cost. That's really good. However, if you don't want to avoid any RNG or any confusing stuff, this thing from Cuke here, he places these random traps to immobilize enemies, but when those are on the floor, they can also get in the way of your guys, right? And that's not great. So it's kind of really straightforward to just use our boy Cutter. And there's actually one other reason that maybe you hadn't noticed that makes me really prefer him as well. So he's only 9 cost. Cuke is 10 cost. And they're not putting out damage because Cuke's not going to put out more damage because he's rare versus Cutter being advanced or green. They're not going to put out any damage. All the damage is coming from the poisons. The poisons have the same chance on the A1, same exact thing on the ultimate. The only difference with the ultimate is the reduced skill cost, but I'd rather do that trade-off and get the -1 cost, because the cost you'll see in this fight, it's very, 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 very tight, and we want it to work as well as possible. So that is your introduction to Cutter. Now, how do we build that fella? Well, let's go back into the raid and I will show you. All the other members of our team are the same, so we don't have to recap there. We will talk about Olag briefly, but first, to wrap up on Cutter, the build is very simple. First off, I want to point out, we did max promote him just because why not? You could have run him with 0 promotion. He's only level 12. He's wearing absolutely minimal gear. The gear here is only so we can use these specific sets and get these specific stats. So ideally, you would want him to get him to 251 bonus speed, so 351. We couldn't make that happen with the gear we have, so I believe the next threshold that I found was about 310, so an extra 210 bonus. But this will get his attack interval all the way down to, if I'm not mistaken, 1.1 attack seconds per attack, which is super low. He is one of the people in the game that has the lowest attack interval possible, which is 2 seconds. Oh, so it's actually minus 0.8. So if we had gone it up to that plus 251 thing, it would be minus 0.9. But as you can see, it's reduced now, but this is a 2-second interval, so we were able to take 40% off of it with this amount of attack speed on him. So that's really good because we want to spam that A1, increase the chances of that 30%, when I say A1, I mean basic, that 30% basic attack triggering, the basic attack triggers poison. And then besides attack speed, I just wanted to make sure we got some rage regen auto. The only way to really get that is from Mana Spring, but this means instead of taking, regenerating, 14 points of rage every second, now we're getting 17 points, and that certainly makes a difference because you'll see once he does his second ultimate, he's out of there. Finally, we can talk about our friend Olag, and then you're comfortable with the whole team. So I spoke about Olag briefly, just being tanky. You can see I have a decent HP on him, decent defense, not an incredible build at all. I will actually say maybe your Olag will work even better, or certainly mine will in a day or 2 or 3 days whenever I skill him up fully. Or really what you need is you need to skill up this auto move fully. It still works for us, but it's far tighter than it should be because, yes, the shield capacity is important, so we could get it up from 70% of his max HP to 85, but really, we want this auto shield triggering not every 12 seconds, but every 10 seconds. So you'll see it's a very close fight for me, but if you had 10 seconds on your Olag's regenerating his shield, this silver shield popping back up, it'd make a big difference. And that's also something worth pointing out. He has this great ultimate, Olag. We are not going to use it. So the way you use him for this fight, just let this auto shield trigger, because it's going to be hard for Salazar to do any damage into that shield. He'll only be able to do damage when the shield is down. Unfortunately, because our Olag isn't strong enough, and because mostly I haven't fully leveled this up, we can't keep the shield up with a high enough uptime that we don't need a healer. We do need a healer for us, but you'll see we've got a quick little workaround for that. All right, I've been talking a lot. How about we start fighting some more? Let's get right into this, guys. I probably will stop talking because this is a tight one. I've rehearsed it a few times behind the scenes to make sure it works well, but it is like down to the last second, baby. It's very tight, so there's a chance I don't get it on my first try. I certainly hope I do. Power of Dominance is off. Let's hop right in. I will start off on 1x, absolutely, just to explain everything. So, but first I'll get Narvi down, and then we'll click 1x. All right, so the very first thing you want to do is grab Narvi. I like to hide her up here. Let's put on 1x, and then immediately you want to get Cutter down so he can start charging up his ultimate, because that's where we get the guaranteed poison. As you can see, the attack will inflict poison. Now we wait. We're going to do the same trick we did before with Baron. This time around, we'll do it with Olag. So he steps. Now we wait for him to get his foot up. Wait till he's like just about, being very careful here. Okay, so there you go. He's in a bit of both. We're going to get Deimos down again. We're going to pay attention to Narvi. As you see, her ultimate's about to trigger. It really is a dance here, guys. It's much tighter than the first time. There's far less wiggle room, at least for my champions builds and stuff. Okay, we can immediately pick up Cutter. And now we're going to wait. You see the shield goes up. We're going to get ready to put Vortex down. So I know we didn't get much damage out of Cutter, but you can see we've already taken 10% off. But the reason it doesn't hurt to pick him up really quickly is because this way we can put him down sooner. And you'll see as soon as this 45 seconds is up, we will put him down again. All right, so we can go back to 2x. The same thing as we did before. I'm going to put Baron down. Not Baron, excuse me, Wrath. And then very important here, guys, that the next champion we put down is Baron, because we still don't have all 4 of our units. And you can see I have the ultimate ready with Olag. I am not using it. We don't need it. I'm keeping an eye on Narvi over there in the corner, and I can place Decimus here facing this way. Oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. We gotta do Baron first. That's my mistake. Baron facing in case anyone squeaks in between them is good. Let's trigger Deimos. Now we can trigger Narvi, and we can pick up. It's going fast, guys. We can quickly get Ein down, and like I said, Ein will get those little debuffs on Salazar, and you can see we're really ticking down now. Now, this is where it gets important. Let me put 1x. We can place Decimus here, so there's going to be 2 Uzi guys that come out of each of these portals in the top right. They're going to want to join up to become a big ooze. By putting Decimus here, he's going to be able to tank it so they don't get the chance to join up. We do a quick trigger with Vortex so everyone gets shields up, then I can pick him up, and now we put Cutter right back down. And now, hopefully, everything lines up that we should win this fight. I did trigger Baron's shield a little too early there, so there is a chance. But there you can see this guy's going to start coming down. Decimus is going to block him. So just keep an eye. Like I said, guys, it's really tight. You can see it all going. We can trigger again with Baron, so that was perfect, actually, which should make it. You can see it's a very tight call, folks. You can trigger with Ein just to get a touch more damage. You can see everyone's starting to drop, so it's going to come down to the absolute last seconds. If these guys touch before we take him down, we will fail. And alas, we failed. You see, it is that close. So sometimes it goes down to 2%, I don't get it. And sometimes, as hopefully you're about to see right now, we do get it. So let's go right back into it. I don't have to talk as much because we're familiar. Let's get everything down. You know, one thing I might have done wrong there is I could have probably left Cutter out a little longer. I was a little conservative with it. Let's wait for him to pick up his foot. Perfect time to drop. All right, let's put Deimos down. So yeah, you'll see, I'll try to leave him out slightly longer. There goes Narvi. So what I'll do now, this can be your visual cue. Once we trigger this next ultimate from Cutter, we know we can take him out. Because the shield is up, we should be fine. So that's what I didn't wait for last time. Let's pick him up, guys. We're learning together. Now immediately you get your healer down. And remember, the next person we drop has to be Baron. Or Wrath, and then Baron. Because keep in mind, last time it was easier to get the 4 Nightmare units out because our tank that was already down was Baron, but now Baron is serving as our second tank, which is actually a much more important job in this fight than the other one. Get ready with Wrath, point him inward, we're good to go. And now we can just wait. Keep an eye on Baron, keep an eye on all the ultimates. Very close. Okay, point Baron in, just a little extra damage for people that snuck through. Keep an eye. Oh yeah, immediately trigger Deimos. I probably didn't do it fast enough last time as well. Trigger Narvi, we can pick her up. Same thing we do with Decimus to block the 2 Uzi guys from joining forces. Now we can trigger the shield again, and you can see we got about 7 seconds left on Cutter. So let's drop Ain as a meat shield and a little debuffer with the physical damage vulnerability. Cutter's ready. Pick up Vortex. We're a lot smoother this time, you see, guys. So I think I probably will keep this in for the full edit, just so you guys can appreciate how you be patient and like wait till you really get the sequencing down and get it as smooth as absolutely possible. But hopefully we do pull it off this time. So there those guys come. Now we'll trigger the shield from Baron. It's looking a lot better already, folks. Come on, please, please, please. Let's do this thing. Come on, come on. I will 1-exit just to make sure if there's anything we miss. Okay, I think we're gonna make it. So you can see how close it is, guys. We still are, these guys are about to start knocking our units down, but I think we should just make it. And there we have it. So I hope you didn't doubt me. That is strategy number 2. Now to quickly show off the stats so we can see who did all the damage. As you can see, Arrogance, he's Arrogance, and we use him very well. I think he's wearing my best gear. Nearly 4 million damage, but would you believe, even with the little amount of time he's out on the field compared to like, on the battlefield compared to Deimos, look at our boy, the Green Man Cutter. Almost 2 million damage. So if you need help, do not sleep on this guy. So what's the difference between the two? Well, in strategy number 2, we're taking advantage of this synergy that exists between, maybe not between the two, but they're very simpatico, with Olag just being able to tank out a little longer, even with, honestly, he has a worse build than my Baron. So that combined with the fact that Cutter is very cheap, so we can get him out, just get a bit of poison out, and then immediately retract him, you know? So that's a really good thing we have going on there. Could this work with Cuke? Could this work with the other guy, Screef? Absolutely, but I think Cutter is going to be the star of the show. And then, of course, we just use Baron as our main tank in strategy number 1. We brought a little burst damage into Amani, but it's a lot more straightforward. There is, starting at stage 15 to 16, 16 to 70, the jumps in difficulty and in terms of just the power of Salazar are pretty significant. So actually, you know what would be a great thing to quickly show you guys, and just to prove my point? You see, it was very close for me, so you're not going to be surprised. However, let me just show you how much worse this goes on stage 17, and we'll wrap it up there. So just don't get discouraged, because this is how it looked when I was fighting 16 about 5 days ago. So just, you're going to hit walls, wait a couple days, wait till your gear gets better, you can improve your DPS, so on, and then take another stab at it, right? So we'll do the exact same thing, and you're going to see, I actually haven't tried this yet, but I'm very confident I'm going to fail in a very big way, but I'm not afraid to show it. Let's wait till this leg gets up. I'm still going to take it seriously, like we've got a shot here, which I definitely know we don't. And look at him go. He's just destroying Olag. Look at that. It's like a whole new fight. Olag barely even made it there. So, okay, we wait for the ult, we go. We get Vortex down. Olag's not even going to last a couple more seconds. The second that shield goes down, he's going to be gone. He did re-trigger there. You can see how having the 10-second shield makes an enormous difference. We got to try to take this seriously. Come on, maybe we'll figure it out. I mean, Vortex is holding his own, but you can see the damage is way, 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 way worse. Finally, we can get Baron down. We'll wait on Narvi. We'll trigger here with Deimos. All right, Narvi's good. We can get Ein down. And you can just see, by this point, we were pretty comfy down in like 40, and he's just so much tankier. It's so much harder. We're going to have to pick up Vortex. It's our only chance at getting out the DPS. I will say, Olag's performing far better than I would have anticipated. So shout out to that big boy. He definitely deserves all the hype he gets. So we can put Decimus down here to block like we did last time. I mean, you'll see, like, so this is a good moment for me. I'm seeing we were a little further along in the process than I would have guessed, but I still don't think we're going to make it, unfortunately. But I'll keep an eye on things. You never know. And that'd be a fun way to end if somehow we pull it off. No, people are finally getting through, it looks like. If we could trigger Deimos, we'd have a shot, and there you go. So far closer than I would have guessed. So Maybe we are ready to make a push on 17. I don't know. Maybe if I try a few times with RNG, we could pull it off. But I think that's how you approach this stage. So go for straight DPS like I did with strategy 1. Take that, use that, get comfortable with it. Let that take you as far as it can. So for me, that was to stage 15. And then I went to strategy 2, where we got a little cheesy with it. We brought in the Olog, we brought in the Cutter. As you can see, now we're getting a little closer on stage 17. So yeah, let me know if this helps, guys. Let me know if you want to see more guides like this. Like the video if you like it. Comment on the video if you want to comment on it. Share it with your mom. I've been Fastidious. I'll see you in the next one.
Fastidious.